Good morning, brothers and sisters. This is Danny from CatchForChrist.net, and today we're going to be memorizing Luke 15, 18, and 19. Chapter 15, verse 18 and 19. As always, we'll be using the Scripture Typer Bible Memory System app. I highly recommend this app, and it's pretty self-explanatory, pretty straightforward, but if you like a more in-depth tutorial, please see the first video on this playlist, this YouTube playlist. But you'll be on your home screen, then you'll hit My Verses, you'll hit the plus sign, select New Verse, choose the book that you'll be in, and then just type in the chapter and verse notation, 18 and 19. You can choose different Bible translations. You can also categorize your verses if you like to. And then just hit Import Verse Text. It'll appear below, and then hit Save. And then just scroll down to wherever that verse is located. And it's a three-step process. The first step, you're going to type it. You're going to hit the first letter of each word, and the word should turn from gray to black. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Luke 15, 18, and 19. Once again, I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against you, against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Luke 15, 18, and 19. Now, I really like to recite the verse as I'm doing each step. I think it's really helpful. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Luke 15, 18, and 19. The second step is to memorize it. The app is going to take away half the words, and now you're essentially filling in the blanks. And you're going to hit the first letter of each word. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against earth and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Luke 15, 18, and 19. And every other time you do the second step, memorize it, it will alternate which letters are visible. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against you, against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. As you see, when you make a mistake, it'll turn red, it'll buzz, and the next time you try that verse, there'll be a heaped signature, that is a little red mark to let you know where you messed up, where you made an error previously. Luke 15, 18, and 19. And one more time, I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Luke 15, 18, and 19. And the last step is to master it without any on-screen helps. So I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. Luke 15, 18, and 19. And there you have it. So, as you can see, by reciting it, as you're reading it, as you're typing it, as you're listening to yourself recite it, I think it's really helpful to really ingrain the verse into your head. So by the time you get to that seventh time, that seventh iteration, at least for me, I start to hear my own voice in my head, and it becomes a lot easier to memorize it that way. Now, once I get 100%, a lot of times I don't get it on the first try. Mastering it, I don't get it on the first try. But once I do get it to 100%, I want to encourage you to try to get it at least 2 more times at 100%. So at least 3 times total at 100% accuracy, to really ingrain the error-free version of the verse into your head the first time. So you put in a little bit of work, just about 5 minutes, And then the next time the verse comes around, it'll be a lot easier, I think, for you to recall what you did today. Right now it says, great job, you've mastered this verse. It'll say review daily. That means that if I review this verse tomorrow and hit my accuracy threshold, then it will advance my review frequency to 2 days, and then every 3 days, and then 4 days, so on and so forth. So it spaces out your repetition for you. You don't have to worry about which verses you need to review when. And you can tweak your threshold for accuracy. You can, by default, I believe it's set at 90%, but you can tweak that in your settings. And then once you review, you'll see which verses you have coming up on which days. It'll give you a countdown. And here's my battery. So that way it just keeps track of everything for you, and you can organize things in verse collections. It's a very great, very solid app all the way around. But thank you for watching. Always remember to read verses in context. Of course, this is the parable of the lost son, or the prodigal son, or the parable of the loving father. Depends on which scholar you ask. But it's a great parable, and always make sure you read verses in context. Thank you for watching. This is Danny from CatchForChrist.net. Have a great day. God bless.